Let's talk about news coming out of Zimbabwe, Itai. The fact that the government is considering applying for a highly indebted country status with the IMF and the World Bank. It's trying to sort out its international debt. So some are saying 2012 is the year where Zimbabwe is really going to focus on creditworthiness and debt relief if possible.
Is a major investment risk issue in Zimbabwe. As long as that debt overhang remains on Zimbabwe, I think our investment markets will remain in limbo. It's critical that that issue is addressed, and we've seen a mixed reaction to the application for HIPC status, with one side of the inclusive government talking about sovereignty issues and the other side looking at getting the debt done with. But be that as it may, I think the issue of debt relief or a debt strategy remains key to unlock the much-needed foreign portfolio as well as foreign direct investments in Zimbabwe's markets.
Obviously, we know that donors have held back, and any international aid coming into Zimbabwe is coming through NGOs, private bodies, through grants, not coming through the government. The only existing lines of credit are from the African Development Bank, from Afrexim Bank and PTA. The question is, will these lines of credit roll over into the new year?
Yeah, I think the strategy we have already started seeing is that these institutions will require the issuing banks to pay back before rolling over. And now, unfortunately, the indications we've seen so far is that a lot of the banks that had handled these facilities seem to have gotten into a situation where, the performance of these credit lines has been below expectations. And as a result, we've seen challenges. But I think to the extent that we've got a very dysfunctional interbank market, it's going to be difficult to see smooth rollovers across these.
Yeah.
So I think it will be institution-specific. The most liquid institutions are likely better placed to get rollovers. So I think rollovers will happen, but it's possible to see a few banks lose these credit lines going forward.
Indigenization, this political hot potato, this albatross around Zimbabwe's neck. I know that authorities are trying to deal in earnest with new legislation on property rights. How will this clear out the environment, clear out any confusion?
Yeah, I think it will go a long way. It will definitely go a long way if it happens. I think we've seen a slowdown in economic growth because of reluctance to bring in money big time, because of uncertainties related to the implementation or reforms relating to indigenization and property rights. So we've seen the authorities approach these, issues, especially in the mining sector, where we've seen mining houses asked to set up community share option trusts, employee share option trusts, and I think we've seen some action in that regard. The good thing is it's being looked at on a case-by-case basis, and there's been movement. So the good thing is there's been movement. The bad thing is there hasn't been that clarity, to the extent that we can say it's sorted out and money is going to flow in. We hope there will be more clarity as we go forward.
Itai, give me an objective view here. The Minister of Finance expects this economy to grow 9.4% this year. Is that realistic, and what will the drivers of growth be?
Yeah, I think in terms of the Minister of Finance, the expected drivers were going to be finance with an expected growth of 23%, agriculture with an expected growth of 11%, mining 15%. Now, already in finance, I think the slowdown in investment, foreign lines coming through because of the issues I've highlighted earlier, will probably put a damper on the growth in the finance sector. We've seen a bit of shaking up in the local financial markets, where we've got one bank already that's been placed under curatorship. That's caused a systemic shivers across the market. Our view is it may be difficult to achieve 23% growth in finance, In agriculture, we've had a bad onset of the agricultural season, underpinned by the late rains, and as well as the support for farming has been below par. The main the grain buying authority in Zimbabwe still owes farmers with respect to deliveries made in the previous farming season. This has impacted seriously on the capacity of farmers to grow or to replace the hectarage of grain as last year. So from that perspective alone, there's going to be a deceleration in growth with respect to agriculture. In mining, I think the key thing there is the indigenization issues. I think there's going to be reluctance for mining houses to operate at full capacity because of these issues. So those three key sectors, our view is going to be a bit problematic to meet those targets, and as a result, we think 9.4 is a bit optimistic relative to expectations. With elections expected either in 2012 or 2013, I think authorities will be preoccupied with electioneering more than economic growth issues.